Right. So we are also, I also pay obeisance to Srila Prabhupada and his devotee, Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, and his devotee Namnishta Prabhu, and my guru, Aishwarya Mataji. नम ओम विष्णु पादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामने नामसे सारस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारणे ओम अज्ञान तिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानांजन शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्दे हम श्री गुरु श्री युतपदकमलं श्री गुरुं वैष्णवं च श्री रूपम सागर जातम सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं सजीवम साद्वैतम सावधूतम परिजन सहितम कृष्ण चैतन्य देवम श्री राधा कृष्ण पादन सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितं च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपिका गोपिका कांता राधे राधा कांते नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरि प्रिये वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 रामा राम रामा हरे हरे. So we began, we understood the questions, which is basically 6 questions. What is Prakriti? What is Purusha? What is Kshetra? What is Kshetragya? What is Jnanam? And what is Jneyam? And Krishna answers first, he answers question 3 and 4, that is what is Kshetra, the field of activities, what is Kshetragya, the knower of the field. So this is a very important question to understand, and therefore we already went through half of that lecture. We will complete it today. And then Krishna goes on to answer question 5, what is Jnanam? So that part I think we'll have to keep for tomorrow. Jnanam is a very important answer which Krishna gives. He talks about all the qualities which is Jnana, and everything else is Ajnana, is not included in Jnana. He talks about what is liberation also. And then in 13 points 20 to 26, Krishna will answer finally what is Prakriti, Purusha, and what happens because of their union. And then in 27 to 35, Jnana Chakshu, that is vision of knowledge. So let's continue on the lecture which we were listening to, in which it was talking about the importance of serving the spiritual master. So 13.1 and 2. Arjuna uvacha prakritim purusham chaiva kshetram kshetragyameva cha etad veditum ichhami jnanam jneyam cha keshava. This is the question of Arjuna. Shri Bhagavan uvacha idam shariram kanteya kshetramithya etad yo veti tam prahu kshetragya iti tadvidah. So here Srila Prabhupada is explaining the importance of serving the spiritual master. Through this explanation, he will come and he will bring us to the understanding about how it is important to understand what is Kshetram and what is Kshetragya with great clarity. Because however much we can, theoretically say that we know what is Kshetra, Kshetra is the body, we know what is Kshetragya, we know that Kshetragya is a knower of the body. That is, there are two Kshetragyas, the soul and the super soul. So this much we know. But then, to really understand it, we need to listen to it again and again. So that's what we will spend a little bit of time on today. So in the MU, that is Mundaka Upanishad 1.2.12, it is said to accept one guru is actually not a fashion. Nowadays, people think that it's a fashion to have some guru. Whether the guru knows or does not know, whether he comes in the some guru parampara, which is valid, doesn't matter. And it doesn't even matter whether the student is really inquisitive or not. It's nowadays just a fashion to say that, okay, I have a guru, this is so and so person is my guru. But guru is actually required, first of all, for a person who is really inquisitive to know the transcendental subject matter. So, tasmad gurum prapadyeta jignasu shreya uttamam. In Srimad Bhagavatam 11.3.21, it is clearly stated, it's not a fashion, but a necessity. Because human life is meant for understanding the real position of his identity. Athato Brahma Jignasa. So, from now, you should start the search of who is Brahma, or what is your real identity. This is necessary. Modern civilization is suffering from this very defect. And Srila Prabhupada explains the whole thing very nicely. that, problem is that human beings now, most people around you, they're not inquisitive about Brahman. They're like cats and dogs, only interested with their body, the bodily necessities of life. They don't want to know beyond it. The other day, Srila Prabhupada is saying in Caracas, some psychiatrists came. Their question was, the problems of the world are increasing. So what is your prescription to solve these problems? So the problems, Srila Prabhupada says, are very easily solvable. And he gives the example that this body is there is something which is moving the body, which is a living force. Otherwise, the body is like a shove. Actually, the body is basically a dead body. It is only the living force, which is the consciousness, which is making it move. So that living force is actually the driver of the body. And the body is also described in Bhagavad Gita as a machine. Actually, it is a machine. The body is just a machine which is driven by the knower of the body. So, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Vriddeshe Arjuna Tishtati Brahmayan Sarva Bhutani Yantra Rudhani Mayaya. Yantra means machine. And what are we? We are sitting on this machine. We are actually the living entities. We are in this machine, which is the body. So knowing this is knowledge about the person who is seated in the car or the machine. However, in today's world, nobody wants to talk about, they don't know, they don't want to know. So there are so many advancements of different kinds of knowledge, so many departments, so many subjects. But where do we find a department which is studying this living force, which is most important, the spiritual knowledge related to the spirit, which is actually driving this very machine? What is that living force? How is it working? There is no inquiry, no education, nothing. Therefore, this education that we have today has no value. They do not know what is education. Education is to inquire about this living force which is moving this machine called the body. That is education. It's not education that we have manufactured a nice car or a nice machine. That is simply craftsmanship. It's not education. Just like one electrician is there, he will join two wires, he will bring some current. In India, it's called Mistri. Mistri, the worker. He will know the technical art of how to bring electric current, but that doesn't mean he's educated. Education is a different thing, as Srila Prabhupada will clarify. So at the present moment, what is there? Just technical education related to the material world. Formerly, this technical education was entrusted to the demons in the society. We have these demons in society and we have yogis. The demons, what would they do? They will manufacture big, big aeroplanes and stuff in the material world. And it was in the ancient days, it used to be done by demons. And the great saintly persons or the sages or the yogis, they could produce wonderful things by their yogic mystic power. So once a person gets self-realized, there are wonderful things they can do. But that's another thing. The focus of yoga is never to create, wonderful things with a mystic power. That is done when required. But generally, when there's a question of manufacturing material things, it used to be done by the demons. So actually, at the present moment, although we are manufacturing so many nice things just to have a comfortable living, but it's not actually education. Education should be Brahma Vidya. That is to understand what is this living force within the body that is working. What is the actual position of this living force? What is the constitutional position? How is it working? Where from is it coming? And this Brahma Jignasa, to inquire about the spirit, that actually should be education which is lacking. Therefore, there are so many problems in the present moment. The problems are created because of our lack of knowledge. Just like if I don't give food to the driver and we give him a nice car, we are trying to make the car very grand, the body is taken well, care of, but the person inside is not happy because he's not properly taken care of, then it'll be ultimately a car accident. And that is what is happening. That's why there are so many problems, because everybody is only taking care of the physical body and they're not taking care of the driver. They're taking care of the kshetra, but they're not taking care of the kshetragya. Why? Because education is not there related to the kshetragya. Simply, you're trying to rectify the defects of the body. So it's required. That's why we have this. Arjuna has come up with the question, Kshetra, Kshetragya. So this body is Kshetra. The field worker is different. Kshetram, Kshetragyam. So he's asking about two separately. So we are taking care of the body. We are not taking care of the Kshetragya. About Kshetragya also there is a lot of misconception. People think that there is only the Atma. But actually there are two living entities, Kshetragyas. One is the Atma, which only knows about its own body. But the only a super soul or the Paramatma situated within the body is one who knows all the bodies and everything. So, and this soul individual Jivatma is not capable of becoming the Paramatma and knower of all the bodies and everything. But because people are very, envious of the Lord and want to take over his position, that is why they try to think or imagine that they are one and the same as a super soul. And once they realize a soul, they become the super soul. So that is a very big misconception. In fact, they don't even think that there's a super soul. They would like to think that they are God. So it is very clearly stated, as Srila Prabhupada says in the Vedic literature, that our body actually is like having two birds. One is a living entity busy doing its different activities, and then there is an individual, that is an individual soul, and there is also another bird which is just observing this bird, waiting for him to turn to him and to know what is the real purpose of his being there. So God, that is super soul, is constantly observing the activities of the individual soul, and he has given freedom to the individual soul because the individual soul has come simply to enjoy independent of the super soul is the whole reason why the entire material world is created, and this is the material disease due to which we are trapped and contaminated. So he has to remain under the protection of super soul, but problem is that he is thinking that there is no super soul. He thinks that he is actually independent, and that is the game of Maya. That in reality, the Jivatma is not independent because, for example, as soon as there is a cause of death, death will come. He cannot say that I have got other businesses to do, give me some time. No, immediately get out. So he's under the control, fully controlled. Still, he will think that he's independent. He can do what he likes. In this way, his life is being spoiled and he's becoming entangled by the activities. And there is strong, stringent laws of nature exactly. Karanam guna sangasya sad sad asad yoni janmas. So this is coming in 13.22 much later, where we come to know that what is the reason why the Jivatma is put into the soul and why one is put into another type of body. One body is enjoying nicely, not enjoying, and another one is not enjoying exactly. No one can only enjoy. He's also suffering. So some are enjoying for a limited time. He's also suffering. Comparatively, one is situated in a nice, comfortable position, another is not. And therefore, one is envious. Why is this man in a comfortable situation in the material world and why am I put into trouble? So let us become communists. Let us revolt against this person or this group of persons. So in this way, there is a struggle for existence. People are constantly, going on with all these problems and they think that there is no solution. How can there be solution? When they are all uneducated. The whole education is given in the wrong direction. So if you want to be educated, you have to make the solution of all the problems of the world available to all. For that, we have to take up this Krishna consciousness movement, and which is the only solution which will educate people about the real identity and the real position of who we are. And as Arjuna is trying to understand what is Prakriti, what is Purusha, what is Kshetra, what is Kshetragya, what is knowledge, Jnana, what is Jneyam, okay, what is a knowable thing? Jneyam is knowable. These questions are posed. And so gradually in course of this chapter, we shall discuss how that true and absolute knowledge, is actually much wanted and needed in the world today. In ignorance, if we fight, there is no solution. In darkness, if we fight, we will only wound each other. I may wound you, you may wound me, but there will be no solution because we are all in the dark. So the whole world is in darkness. Therefore, there is a struggle. One is a capitalist, one is a communist, one is this, one is that. There is struggle because everyone is in ignorance. Maya Andhakara. We are all in this darkness of Maya. And Krishna is a light. So fighting in darkness will not give solution. We must come to light. We must take knowledge from the most enlightened. And who is the most enlightened? Krishna, Bhagavan. Bhagavan means one who has all six opulences: supreme rich, supreme famous, supreme beauty, supreme might, supreme renunciate, and supreme wise or knowledgeable. And so we have to take knowledge from the supremely wise person. Then the knowledge is perfect. Therefore, it is said Bhagavan Uvacha. Why does Vyasadeva, when he writes the Bhagavad Gita, why does he not say Krishna? Because if he says Krishna Vacha, people will say that Krishna is just another person like someone like us, Arjuna's cousins and Arjuna's driver. So therefore, he purposely does not say Krishna Vacha in the Bhagavad Gita. He clearly says Bhagavan Vacha to tell us that Bhagavan is Supreme Personality of Godhead, and there can be no doubt about Krishna's knowledge. So Bhagavan Vacha, whatever Bhagavan says, that is in fact, that is not material knowledge like that. It may be, perhaps, like material knowledge, we can never be sure. Perhaps, maybe it must be like that. So these are all, Srila Prabhupada uses the term rascaldom. It may be, perhaps, and then you say that this is knowledge. It's actually not knowledge, it's just speculation. Speculation is different. Just some information you speculate and think, okay, this may be like that may be like that. But knowledge is different. You cannot speculate about absolute knowledge, and that's what people do. They will take the Gita knowledge, which comes from Krishna himself, and they will start speculating about it, arguing about it. Why? Because they can't accept that their senses are imperfect, and here the Bhagavan, the Lord, is coming and giving us the knowledge, but we don't want it. We don't want to take it. And how can we speculate or come to the right conclusion? If we keep on speculating, you cannot come to the right conclusion. We must receive direct knowledge from Bhagavan. That is why Bhagavan Uvacha. So what is Bhagavan? So whatever Bhagavan is going to speak is the Dhyanam, or the absolute knowledge. I request all of you to post your attendance. Ravi Prabhu has posted the link. And if we take it, then we shall be perfect. I may be perfect, I may be imperfect. Similarly, you may be perfect at some time, may be imperfect. But when we take a knowledge from somebody perfect, then that knowledge is actually absolute. Just like a child who does not know anything, he will go to his father, Father, what is it? And father will not cheat. He will wants to give him the right knowledge. This is this. So he may be a small child, imperfect, but he receives knowledge from his father who knows what is the world about, and that knowledge, whatever he knows, is perfect at that level. Similarly, we are receiving knowledge in Bhagavad Gita from Bhagavan, where Krishna himself declares, I am the, seed-giving father of all of you. And he's telling us the knowledge, he's giving it to us. We don't want to make any addition and alteration to this supreme knowledge given to us by our seed-giving father, the Lord himself, because it's a perfect knowledge. So the Krishna consciousness movement, the knowledge that is being spread in this movement, that is perfect. Nobody should think that the man is spreading it, and so he is imperfect. If it's a man spreading, he may be imperfect. In fact, he is imperfect. I am imperfect, says Srila Prabhupada. We are all imperfect, says Srila Prabhupada. But Krishna consciousness is not a movement which is spreading an imperfect knowledge, because we are simply spreading what Krishna, the Lord of the universe himself, is saying, and we are only repeating. That's all. So this is Krishna consciousness movement to distribute perfect knowledge. Krishna consciousness, and that will make the whole world happy. Once you really start spreading this knowledge and people start understanding it, there will be happiness and peace, and problems will disappear. So try to distribute this knowledge. Krishna will recognize you when you're doing that, but you're trying your best on Krishna's behalf, because he comes down to distribute the knowledge periodically. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata tadatmanam srijamyaham. Because we are all Krishna's sons, we are suffering. So he wants to see that our sufferings are mitigated immediately. But what is the point? We are all obstinate. We don't want to accept our Supreme Father's advice. Who cares? Why can't he come and solve all our problems? Why are the problems there in the first place? No, we don't want to see what the Lord has to say about it. That is our difficulty. That is our problem. So Krishna says repeatedly, Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam brajaham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. In 1866, he says, forget everything and surrender to me. I will give you the knowledge you need, but we will not accept it. This is our misfortune. So voluntary, we should try to accept the knowledge and instruction given by Krishna, and then our life is going to be perfect. So let's revise what we did so far. Body is a field of activity. Kshetra. Lord is a super knower, super soul, Paramatma, the knower of all the bodies. One of the Kshetragyas. Body is Kshetra. Lord is Kshetragya, one of the Kshetragyas. And the other Kshetragya is a living entity, the individual knower, the knower of only his own body, and a finite enjoyer. Lord is a supreme enjoyer. And super soul is a controller of both field of activities, and he is the infinite enjoyer. Sorry. So what is the criterion for the conditioned soul to get the body? As a conditioned soul is entrapped in material existence, He has this propensity. As soon as our soul becomes trapped in this material world, we have the propensity to lord over the material nature. And so, according to his capacity, everybody dominates the material nature and wants to enjoy sense gratification. He gets a field of activity. The reason to get this is because we want to enjoy sense gratification, and so we are given a body called kshetra. The living entity is the conditioned soul, different from the body, but knows it. So he's called a kshetragya, or the knower of the field. How are kshetra, that is the body, and the kshetragya different? A single person undergoes many changes. For that, the explanation is that a single person undergoes many changes from childhood to old age. You know, you were a baby once, you were a child, then you become a youth, and then you become a middle age, you have your own children, and then you become old. So, single person refers to Kshetragya, who changes from childhood to old age, which are occurring in the body. So, the difference between knower and the field of activity is in the verse Deho Dehinosmin Yatha Dehe Kaumaram Yavanam Jara. So the living entity is within the body. The body is changing from childhood to boyhood, from boyhood to youth, from youth to old age, and then disease and death. And the living entity who knows this body can know that the body is changing, and he knows that he is not the body. So when we say, I am happy, I am a man, I am a woman, I am a dog, I am a cat, these are bodily designations of the knower. It's actually not the knower. It's different from the body. So analogy is, we use articles, clothes, etc., but we are different from these things. Similarly, the body is like a cloth, and the soul is what who we really are. So putting the information in perspective, in chapter 1 to 6, Krishna has explained to us the individual soul is part and parcel of the Lord. And that is the constitutional position of the soul in relation to the Lord. Then in 7 to 12, we study the relationship between soul and super soul in terms of the bhakti or devotional service or love for Krishna. The position of the Lord himself as being superior and the position of an individual soul as being subordinate. The living entities are suffering because he's forgotten this relationship and the position. And in bhakti, the approach to the Lord changes. There are 4 kinds of men who will approach the Lord, either when he's in distress, when he finds that nothing is working, he feels, okay, there is some Lord who might make it work. Or when he's in dire need of money, when you need money, you suddenly reach out, oh Lord, can there be some way I can get some money? I'm broke. Or because for some special luxury or sensual desire, which is making you mad, you ask for money. Or inquisitiveness, you want to know, you're very curious, you can't just be without wanting to know. Or because you already have the knowledge, so you want to approach the Lord and you want to strengthen that knowledge. And Krishna says a person who is actually having the knowledge and searching for more, ways to understand Krishna, he is the highest among these 4 different ways. Because other ways, often what happens is, when people get what they want, they forget Krishna. When they are in distress, they will pray, 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 and then when their distress is solved, they will forget. They want money, they will pray, pray, pray. When they have adequate money, they will forget Krishna. When they have a lot of inquisitiveness, they get some kind of some in wisdom and they feel they know, they will forget. They say, enough, I know everything. So this is the thing. These are things which were described in 7 to 12 and 13 to 18, how the conditioned soul is delivered by the Supreme Lord himself. How does he use different methods of fruitive activities through knowledge and devotional service is explained. So how the living entity is different from the body somehow becomes, and how the living entity becomes related to the body is explained. So then once more, Prakriti, material nature, the answer will be in 13.20 to 26, Purusha, also in 20 to 26. Kshetra, we have already understood the body very clearly. Kshetragya, we have understood. Jnanam and Geyam will be coming in later. So this is the, this whole thing is like the kshetra. It's a field of activity. You can see a whole field. There is some of the parts of the field are ready to be harvested. So there's a field. And here you can see a man, his field, he knows his field. He knows exactly what is the land, how much, is there this area of his land, what are the producers, how good is the soil, and where, there is water available. He knows everything about this particular field. But then there is sitting there up above the Lord, who is not only sitting up there, but everywhere. And he is a knower of not just this field, but the entire, all the fields. He is a knower of all the fields. So that was the analogy. Kshetra is a body for whom, who gets, is for the, who gets the body as a field of activity. A conditioned soul gets the body. Why does he get the body? Because he's trapped in material existence simply because he wanted to lord it over. He didn't want to have a lord. He wanted to be the lord. So criteria to decide which body, it's according to the capacity to dominate material energy, according to the capacity to enjoy sense gratification based on your desires and past karmas, that you get a particular body to function accordingly. And the Kshetragya, how do you understand the difference between body and Kshetragya? It's based on the different changing phases, like how we saw Dehinosmin Yatha Dehe. And it's an intuitive understanding. You know that you are different from the body. And then we studied the whole comparison right now between the groups of chapters. So now let's move on at last to the next set of questions, that is 3, 4, and 5. Field of activities, knower, and the knowledge. So knowledge, I don't think we'll be able to cover today. So let's see this one. 13.3 says, Kshetragyam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata kshetra kshetrajnyo jnanam yattaj jnanam matam mama. He says, oh, kind of Bharata, one should understand that I am also the knower in the bodies, and to understand this body and its knower is called knowledge. That's my opinion. So you can see here, the person he's smoking, he's making a call to some person, he's probably also having some drinks, he's doing all these things, and whatever different activities, good or bad, his face is away from the Lord who is sitting there waiting for him to turn. Even when he's sleeping, the man is dreaming. He's dreaming of becoming rich. He's dreaming of all the things that he wishes. And then his face is turned away from the Lord. And then this is the third one is also he's sleeping, I guess. No, third one, I can't make out clearly. Yeah, so basically like throughout till the time we turn to the Lord, we are, not understanding a real position. So this 13.3 is now explained by Srila Prabhupada. Let's go through it. The first answer was there. Krishna said, Idam Shariram Kaunteya Kshetram Itya Vidhiyate. So this body is very simple question, simple answer. One has to think over it to make it clear. Kshetra, field of activities, like a plowman. That's a farmer. And I'm working on the farm, and then he says there will be some production, I will enjoy it. So the farmer and the farm are two different things. The farmer doesn't say, I am this farm. And he will never make that mistake. We also don't make the mistake. We say, it is my finger. Nobody will say, I am this finger. Even if you're a child, you ask the child, what is this? He'll say, my finger. He will not say, I am, so the knower that I am not this body, I'm the proprietor of the owner or the occupier of the body. This is simple knowledge. Everyone says, my body. And he identifies, yet what happens? He identifies himself with the body. And this is the reason for this is Maya or illusion or ignorance. So Krishna consciousness, we understand that anything which you are using in the world belongs to Krishna. Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam, Ishopanishad Mantra 1. This is Vedic philosophy. Sarvam, everything belongs to the Lord. This is a real philosophy. Unfortunately, we say this is my property, this is our property, this is nation's property, this is this community's property. But that's not a fact. Fact is God's property. The real proprietor is God. I am simply given lease or tenancy to use it properly and pay taxes or rent to the Lord. That is my duty. Therefore, according to Vedic principle, one has to offer sacrifices. Yajnarthat karmano nyatro Yajnarthat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. So work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Whatever we do, we sacrifice it to Vishnu. Otherwise, the work we do causes bondage in this material world. So yajna means sacrifice, offering sacrifice to the Lord. In every religion, there is a process of sacrifice according to their ritualistic ceremonies. So, sacrifice basically means a way to satisfy or satiate the real proprietor or the government. So that is sacrifice when we are talking about, doing something for the Lord. So I'm earning something, some percentage I sacrifice for the government or the landlord. So why not for God, who is the actual proprietor? What is the reason that we deny to sacrifice the Lord? It's simply ignorance. Actually, everything belongs to God. I have not manufactured the land, the water, the sea, the air, the sky. Suppose a carpenter manufactures furniture, he gives him somebody gives him wood, he gives him salary, and then he can't, after making the furniture, he can't say this is mine. He has to give that furniture back to the person who has given him the wood. So Krishna consciousness movement is to make us understand that everything belongs to Krishna and you are working on his behalf. So whatever you do, you need to give the result to God. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. So you work honestly for the satisfaction of the Lord. Swakarmatam abhyarcha sam siddhir labhyate nara. If you want perfection in your life, then you work and the result, you must understand, should go to God. For God must be satisfied by the work that you have done. That is perfection of your life. Then in 1.2.13 we have Ata pumbhir dvijashreshtha varnashrama vibhagashah swanushthittasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshanam. So everyone is working according to his own capacity, but nobody is trying to see whether I'm getting perfection by working like this. That is wanted. How is the perfection? Samsiddhir haritoshanam. If you satisfy haritoshanam, if you satisfy the Lord in the work that you're doing, that is your perfection. Just like ordinarily we work, I want to see the master satisfied. Similarly, the Supreme Master, the Supreme Lord should be satisfied by your work and your labor. Then your work is successful. Otherwise, Shrama eva hi kevalam. If you're simply working by your own, understanding and for your own self and your, for, for your, whatever your understanding, you're only wasting time and energy. So the Krishna consciousness helps us to understand what Krishna wants us to do and do it to his satisfaction. When he is happy, everything is perfect. So Krishna says in the next verse, Kshetragyam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata in 13.3. So just like a big landlord having 50 houses, this one we've already seen. We've already talked about the kshetra. So let's move on to the next paragraph. Super soul is within everybody's body. And Krishna knows, he has given this body. He knows everything. Janmadyasya yata. So in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.1, Janmadyasya yata. So the body is manufactured by Lord. We don't manufacture it. The father and mother, they're giving us a body, but he does not know. The father knows, neither the father knows nor the mother knows how the body is manufactured. And this is known to God. Also, I am the knower of the body, and he is a Sarvakshetreshu. My pains and my pleasures I understand. You understand your pains and pleasures. I can't understand your pains and pleasures, or vice versa. So God knows everybody's pains and pleasures, and so He is all pervading. Otherwise, why do we go to God to offer our prayers and say, God, these are my pains and pleasures, kindly give me relief? Because we know intuitively that He knows He can give you relief because He is all powerful. He can give you the relief. Otherwise, why is there a process? Go to the church, go to the temple, go to the mosque, offer your prayers. That is religion. In every human society, there is a religion, there's a method to offer prayer to God. Everyone knows, anyone in any religion, people know that the Lord is everything. He knows everything. He can mitigate the pains. So God comes to inform us how we can be happy. He comes personally, or he sends his son or his devotee or his messenger, and this is going on. We are being misled by the illusory energy. We want to forget God. We want to be independent, and Krishna gives us immense opportunity. You live independently as you like, you can do. I shall give you all facilities. So in this material world, he is giving us all the facilities. He is sitting in everyone's heart. And so when you pray to the Lord, my God, give me this facility, the God does not say you will be happy by your proposal. He says, no, this is not a good proposal. You do not ask me anything manufactured by you. You act as I say, then you'll be happy. Just like a child. Like if a child says, Father, I shall touch this fire. The father will say, my dear, the father will not say, my dear, touch. He will say, no, don't touch, you'll suffer. But then again and again, if he persists, he may give sanction. All right, touch your finger at your risk. So this is what is going on. We are praying to God for our sense gratification the same way, Father, let me touch the fire. And when he does not do, that he does not say, similarly, the material world is not going to give us whatever we ask for. The foolish child is asking, give me this facility. Father says, no, this is not what you should really have. It's not for your happiness. You just be obedient. Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam braja. That is Krishna's desire. But no, I'll not do that. And then the father says, okay, do what you want at your own risk. So what is the Lord's fault? And when we act according to our own whims, according to our sense gratificatory processes, that becomes our material bondage. It's called a conditional life. And we are given the facility under certain condition. We get the body, we get the senses, they work under certain condition because we are not independent. I have eyes, God has given me material eyes, I can see in the light condition. When there is darkness, it's not possible to see. Similarly, in every activity, we are conditioned. Only in the condition that there is light, we can see. See, now around me, there's complete darkness. Even if I put on the video, it's complete darkness all around. So you can just see the background. It's really, the power hasn't yet come. So, just like people are now trying to go to the moon. So many conditions they can't fulfill. Therefore, they're not successful. Why you should go to the moon planet? It's not meant for you. But they will forcefully go there. We will go. We will take all the artificial oxygen and this and that and go. And then they have not been successful. Every planet is meant for different kinds of living entities. How can you go there by force? Just like any man outside America, he cannot come here by force. He needs to get the proper visa or anything. So how can you go to the moon planet without that particular bodily strength required to survive there? So there are special bodies to survive in different moons and planets as per our scriptures. Everything is made for a particular purpose and more. In fact, even the sun has different entities inside the sun. In the Surya Loka, where the king is the Surya, the god Surya. In the Brahma Samhita 5.40, it says, Yasya prabha prabhavato jagad andakoti kotishva ashesha vasudhadi vibhuti bhinnam tad brahma nishkalam anantam ashesha bhutam. Just like if you want to go to the sun planet is there, but you can't go because you're not fit. Now you don't have the body for it. Similarly, you're not right now having that body for the moon planet. Our body is made differently. Why sun planet and moon planet? Even if you want to live inside the water itself, you don't have the body of a fish. You'll have to carry all those, again, oxygen masks and this and that. The fish can live freely in water and you are living freely on land. But by force, you enter water and you're not going to be prepared with all those extraneous things. You're going to be dying. So there is a condition for everything, the way they're existing. We are all conditioned souls. The foolish persons, they're all conditioned, but they want to live independently. So for want of knowledge, for want of understanding of the relationship with God, we are suffering. Nobody can say that I am not suffering. We're all suffering from our bodily condition, our mental condition, some obstruction offered by other entities, offered by nature. Where are you free? We have the Adhyatmika and the Adideva and Adibhautika, 3 kinds of sufferings. We are not free. Still, we think, oh, I'm independent, I am free, I can do what I like. This is mudha, ignorance. The whole reason why we think like that is because of ignorance. And it is described in Bhagavad Gita. Namam dushkritano mudha prapadyante naradhama. Naradhama means a human being. Adhama means lowest. So one person who is lowest of human mankind, he cannot accept the authority of God. Why? Because they are miscreants. Namam dushkritano, because we are engaged in sinful activities, we cannot understand God, we don't want to surrender to God. These are the formulas. Mudha. Who is a mudha? A rascal or a fool. He's in every step, he wants to think he's independent. He can do what he wants. But he can't do without the sanction of the Lord even one step. Every moment he's dependent and he thinks, oh, I'm independent. What is God? I don't care. So the Mudha is a rascal. He is beaten with shoes every moment by the material nature, the agent of God. And still he's thinking, no, I'm actually free. Therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Namam dushkritano mudha prapadyante naradhama, the lowest of mankind, because his human body is meant for understanding God. And God explains about himself in the Gita. But no, we don't want to understand. The cats and dogs, they can't understand God because they don't have the intelligence. They are trapped in a lower consciousness mode body. But a human being, he can understand. What is the relationship? The language is there. The Bhagavad Gita is there. Therefore, one who does not do this, try to understand. Although nature has given you the opportunity with a human body, still you will act only like cats and dogs, eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Then you are a mudha or a dushkritana. So one can say that the peoples are mudhas, rascals who have passed big university degrees, BA, DAC, BAC, and all these PhD and everything, so many things. But what are they? Mudas. Krishna says they are mudas. Why? Because they are Maya Apahrita Jnana. Their Jnana has been stolen away by Maya. Maya Apahrita Jnana. They are struggling for only education of material things. They don't want to know about a spirit, soul, or Lord. And so, therefore, Krishna says, you don't want to know? Fine. Your real knowledge is taken away. God will not reveal himself to a person who is proud of his false knowledge. Real knowledge is Kshetragyam Chapimam Vidhi Sarvas Kshetreshu Bharata. Etaj Jnanam. This is knowledge. God is sitting in everybody's heart, but the so-called educated person doesn't know God. What is the value of his knowledge? He is Maya Apahrita Jnana. He's a fool. So real knowledge, this technological knowledge is not knowledge. The knowledge that I am not the body, I am the proprietor, occupier of the body, and God is the proprietor of all the body. Similarly, God is the supreme proprietor. If you know this, it is knowledge. Otherwise, everything else is ignorance. So we will see more on this later. We just go through few more slides, and I think we'll end with this text 3. Actually, I wanted to go to up to 8. Let's see. What is the time? I can't even see the clock in the darkness. Hare Krishna.
7:45, Mataji. 7:45.
What's the time, Prabhuji?
7:45.
Okay. So 15 minutes, I think we can reach till where I wanted to.
Okay.
Right. So, so we are talking about Krishna consciousness movement today. We are trying to understand by looking at Srila Prabhupada's lecture in explanation of 13.2 and 3, how Krishna consciousness movement is giving us knowledge related to the whole world. We have no discrimination that the knowledge should be denied to this particular man. It should not be given to, say, another country, a Westerner, or to some specific person. No, everybody has access to the knowledge. And everyone is a son of God or Krishna. Krishna says, Ma me vamsho jiva bhuta. Every jiva bhuta is ma me vansho, my part and parcel. Every living entity. Not, he doesn't say only the Indians or only the Hindus. Every living entity is Krishna's part and parcel. But they are differently dressed. Like we're sitting here differently dressed. Similarly, a living being, it doesn't matter, whether he's in the dress of a man or a beast or a demigod or a higher or lower living entity, a spiritual spark is there, and they are all part and parcel. According to your desire, their motive, they are getting different bodies. But everybody in the material world is subject to nature's law, which you cannot deny: birth, death, old age, and disease. And so we are not happy. Nobody wants to die. A cat or a dog, no one wants to die. But then nature will force you to die. You must die. This is conditional. That is why if we want to become unconditional, then Krishna is telling us solution. You need to surrender to God. This is a demand. Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam vraja. And if we take this instruction, it doesn't matter whether you take it from Bhagavad Gita, you take it from the Bible, or you take it from the Quran, but you take the basic instruction and abide by it. Sarva dharman parityaja. Come to God, love God, serve God. Stop, thinking that, have the sense of proprietorship and I am, this is my word. I will find out. I. It has to go. Then only your life will be successful. Otherwise, if you can't satisfy God, then whatever you do, endeavor to do without bhakti and prema, it will all be, according to Krishna and Bhagavad Gita, it's actually a waste of time and energy. It will never be successful. That is the reason why people are suffering. They have become godless. They don't surrender to God. They have become independent. They think so-called independent. They are becoming actually more and more entangled in the karma, in the laws of nature. Yajnarthat karmano nyatra loko yam karma bandhanaha. In 3.9, we had seen this. If you do not act for the satisfaction of the God, then you're going to be further and further entangled. Every thought, word, action will set up a whole, cause and reaction. You will be entangled life after life, and that's not a very good thing. People think, so what? I will take another birth and I will, keep enjoying the way I'm enjoying now. So, the Krishna conscious people are trying to preach the philosophy, and Prabhupada is saying, I request you, ladies and gentlemen present here, to take advantage of this philosophy that I am trying to share, and please try to understand. Srila Prabhupada is pleading with everyone. We have got so many books. Simply, we are describing about the philosophy. There are about 50 books, big books. Either you accept immediately. If you want to understand through philosophy, sit and read the books. Try to understand what the scriptures are saying. But the fact is that unless you surrender, unless you act according to Krishna's desire, all your activity is baffled and it's a waste of energy. You will not, and still you will think that I'm actually independent. So in every field of activity, there are two souls. Again, there's a revision section here. Individual super soul. Super soul is a plenary expansion of Krishna. And super soul is a controller of field of activities and the enjoyer. Krishna says, I'm also the knower, not the individual knower of the body, but the Paramatma. Individual soul knows his body. There are two knowers. One is fallible, one is infallible, superior, one is subordinate. Analogy is about the citizen knowing. So we just revise everything we have done today. This is the Goloka chart. So there is a very, set of long lectures which explains the whole, this universe where there is a Devi Dhama, there is a Mahesh Dhama, followed by the Hari Dhama or Vaikuntha here, and the highest is the Goloka Vrindavan. So all these are very clearly explained. It takes a lot of, listening to lectures to really understand these things in detail. So as you go more and more deeper in Krishna consciousness, everything will be revealed to you. And how? We have, this is actually we have the Vishnu, the Mahavishnu, and then we have all the different, it's being he's expanding. The different universes are coming from him, and in each universe there is there's a Vishnu, and then from that the Brahma arises. So all these are explained very well in the scriptures. Supreme Personality of Godhead, present as super soul in all bodies, knows everything. And so there is Kshetrani hi Sharirani Bijam Chapi Subhashabhe Tani Veti sa yogatma tattah kshetragya uchyate. So again, what is kshetra? One who understands the two knowers of the field to be one and the same is actually contradicting the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who says that I am also the knower. So this is again, this point is being explained to us that people who think that the soul is the same as the super soul is actually being misunderstanding the rope to be a serpent, and it's not a knowledge. Real knowledge is to know super soul is controller of both field of activities and all the finite enjoyers. Super soul and soul are same and yet they are distinct. They're same because in quality they are same. This is called the Achintya Bheda, Bheda Tattva. So one who misunderstands a rope to be a serpent is actually not in the real knowledge. One has to understand the position of nature and the enjoyer of nature and Ishvara. This is what we'll be doing in the last few verses. Analogy is don't confuse the painter, the painting, and the easel. People try to, say that they're all actually one and the same. But then we need to be able to distinguish them. This material world, which is a field of activities, is the nature. The enjoyer of the nature is a living entity. And above them is a supreme controller or the personality of Godhead. The Shvetashvara Upanishad says, Bhokta Bhogyam Preditaram Chamocha Matva Sarvam Proktam Trividham Brahmam Etat. There are three Brahman conceptions. Prakriti is Brahman, that is one conception. Jiva is trying to control the material body is also the Brahman, and the factual controller of both is also Brahman. So Brahman actually has three conceptions which we need to understand with clarity. Brahman is, what is basically Brahman? It is the highest universal principle. It is the ultimate and absolute reality. It is a central concept in Upanishads, ancient scriptures, and Vedanta philosophy. It is something which never changes. Knowledge and infinity. Everything is Brahman. So Lord Krishna, he defines Kshetragya and Jnanam. He answers that there are two knowers. And then in the fifth question, what is Jnanam? He says to know the body, the knower of the body, and the super soul is actually knowledge. He will explain more about knowledge later. And to study subject matter of field of activity and knower very minutely, what do we need to do? Kshetra is the body. Two kinds of knowers. We need to understand that. How is Krishna the knower? We have seen that, right? So this much of detail for verse 3 alone. So these are the differences between soul and super soul. Jivatma, Paramatma, Anu. The nature is Anu, extremely small, whereas Vibhu, infinite. Then how much he knows, the difference in knowledge. So, proprietorship, who is actually the proprietor? Soul is proprietor of the one body, and that to a temporary, tenant, like just a tenant. And the super soul is the owner of all. The soul is a secondary controller of senses. Actually, Krishna is Rishikesha. The Lord actually controls all the senses. Fallible soul, infallible super soul, loving servitor, a loving master, And innumerable living entities are there, whereas there is only one. Super soul, although he is present in every living entity, he is one. Then we look at 13.4. Takshetram yatcha yadrikcha yadvikari yatascha yatsacha yo yat prabhavascha tat samasena me shrunu. Please hear, Shrunu, please hear my brief description of the field of activity, how it is constituted, what its changes are, whence it is produced, who that knower is of the activities, and what its influences are. So the Lord will be explaining that again. Please mark your attendance. Ravi Prabhu has sent it again. Materials of which this body is made is the controller of the, wait, sorry. How does the body change? These are things we've already gone through, so I'll not waste time on this. Let's move on to 13.5. In 13.5, Krishna is saying that knowledge of the field of activities and knower of activities is described by the sages in the, by the sages in the various Vedic writings. It is especially presented in Vedanta Sutra with all reasoning as to cause and effect. Yishir Bahudha Geetam Chandobhir Vividhay Prithak Brahma Sutra Padaish Chaiva Hetumadbhir Vinishchitai. So these have been explained. Vyasa Deva is a great sage in the Vedanta Sutra. Duality of soul and super soul is perfectly explained. So in actually Vedanta, Vyasadeva has explained. Vyasadeva's father is actually Parasara Muni. He writes, Aham Tvam Cha Tathanye. We, you and I and various other living entities, we are transcendental. Although we are in a material body, we have fallen into the ways of the three modes of nature according to our past karma. How much of goodness, passion and ignorance the karma has been done in which different modes. According to that, we are fallen. Some are higher nature, some are lower nature. Higher and lower natures exist due to the ignorance degrees and are being manifested in an infinite number of living entities. The super soul is infallible. A distinction between soul, super soul, and body is also made in Kathopanishad. Of the many great sages who explained this, Parasa is one of the main ones. Then we have, according to the Taittiriya Upanishad, Brahma Pucham Pratishtha is a manifestation of the Supreme Lord's energy known as Annamaya, Pranamaya, Jnanamaya. Annamaya, dependence on food. Pranamaya is after realizing the supreme absolute truth in food. Then you realize absolute truth in the living symptoms of life forms. And then Jnanamaya is when you realize your realization extends beyond the living symptoms to the point of thinking and feeling. So Brahman realization is called Vijnanamaya, that is again higher than Jnanamaya. These are different levels of realization that we're talking about. So in which living entities, mind and life symptoms are distinguished from the living entity. When you start distinguishing, you are in Vijnanamaya. And the next supreme stage is Anandamaya. When you realize blissful nature, there are 5 stages of Brahman realization called Brahma Pacham. Out of these, first 3, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Jnanamaya, are involving the fields of activities of living entities and transcendental to the fields of Supreme Lord, which is Anandamaya. So Vedanta Sutra, it describes the Supreme as a Anandamaya Bhyasa, the Supreme Personality of God. It is actually by nature full of joy, Anandamaya. And to enjoy along with the Lord's transcendental bliss, he expands into Vijnanamaya, Pranamaya, Jnanamaya, and Annamaya. In the field of activities, the living entity is considered to be the enjoyer. Different from him is the Anandamaya. If the living entity decides to enjoy in dovetailing himself with Anandamaya, which is what we all should be trying to do, then he becomes perfect and you can be in bliss when you understand that. This is a real picture of the Supreme Lord or the Supreme Knower of the field, the living entity being subordinate knower and the nature of field of activities. So this has been explained again, Annamaya. So let's look at the 5 layers of us. Anandamaya Kosha, which is the bliss body. Vijnanamaya Kosha is a wisdom body. Manomaya Kosha is the emotional body. Pranamaya Kosha is the energy body. And Annamaya Kosha is the physical body. Going in the reverse order actually. The highest is the bliss body, which is basically the Supreme Lord, understanding our real nature, Anandamaya. When you're in the Anandamaya Kosha, you have realized your bliss body. So first is Annamaya, the bodily conception, Pranamaya, little higher, Jnanamaya or Manomaya, Vijnanamaya and Anandamaya. So in the phenomenal manifestation, there are three stages: the stage of consciousness, semi-consciousness and dreaming, and unconsciousness. But our Lordship is transcendental to all these different material stages of existence. You exist in the fourth dimension, and your appearance and disappearance do not depend on anything beyond yourself. You are the supreme cause of everything, but of you there is no cause. You yourself cause your own appearance and disappearance. So this is a description of the Lord. What is the Lord? Despite the Lord's transcendental position, in order to show his six opulences and advertise his transcendental qualities, Krishna appears in different incarnations like fish, tortoise, boar, Nrsimha, Keshava, by his personal manifestation, and you appear as different living entities by the separated manifestation. These are all little tough concepts in the Jnana chapters, but if we contemplate more and more, we get clearer. So by internal potency, Krishna appears as different incarnations of Vishnu. And by external potency, he appears as a phenomenal world or the material world that we see. This is from the Krishna book. So we can try and finish this also. 13.6 to 7, it says, महाभूतान्यहङ्कारो बुद्धिरव्यक्तमेव च इन्द्रियाणि दशैकं च पञ्चचेन्द्रियगोचराः इच्छा द्वेष सुख सुखं दुःखं सङ्घातश्चेतना धृतिः एतत् क्षेत्रं समासेन सविकारमुदाहृतम्. So what does it say? It says that 13.6 and 7 is telling us the 5 great elements: false ego, intelligence, and the unmanifested. The 10 senses, the mind, the 5 sense objects: desire, hatred, happiness, distress, aggregate, the life symptoms and convictions. All these are summary. In summary, these are all field of activities and its interactions. So this is what Krishna is trying to explain. So authoritative statement of the great sages, Vedic hymns and Vedanta Sutra elaborate the components of this world, which we have just seen. What are the components of this entire world? First is the Mahabhuta, the 5 main elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Then the 3 modes of nature: the false ego, intelligence, and unmanifested and the unmanifested stage of 3 modes of nature. And then we have 5 senses for knowledge. Which are the 5 senses for acquiring knowledge? They are eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. Then there are 5 working senses: voice, legs, hands, anus, and genitals. Above all these senses, there is the mind, which is within, which can be called a sense within. Including the mind, there are 11 senses. So then there are 5 objects of the senses also: smell, taste, form, touch, and sound. So all these together are the 24 elements. They are all called the kshetra, or the field of activity. And the 25th element will be the kshetragya, the atma, the jivatmas. That will be the 25th element. So there are then there are 5 objects. This is, I think we've already done, right? Yeah, this is a repeat. So from here, we can see that this aggregate of 24 elements is called the field of activity. Then there are desire, hatred, happiness, distress. What are all these? These are interactions, representations of the 5 great elements in the gross body. The living symptoms represented by consciousness and convictions are the manifestation of a subtle body, mind, ego, and intelligence. These subtle elements are included within the field of activities. 6 changes occur in the body. First, it is born, it grows, it stays, it produces byproducts. It then begins to decay and then it vanishes. Therefore, the field is a non-permanent material thing, but the kshetragya is different. It is proprietor. So that is it. What we understood in text 6 and 7, it indicates that the body or the field is non-permanent, and the knower of the field is different from the field. The components of the fields of activities, we have seen all the 24 of them. And then interaction of the gross and subtle body. The gross body is the interactions are through desire, hatred, happiness, and distress. The subtle body, living symptoms represented by consciousness and convictions. Then we have pradhana. The 5 great elements are gross representation of false ego, which is called the materialistic conception of tamasa buddhi, which represents unmanifested 3 modes called pradhana. And basis of this knowledge, authorities as per 13.5 translation, we know about the knowledge from here. 6 changes in the body we have seen. And the BG 13.6 explains what the field of activity is made up of, what are the different parts of the kshetra. And then 13.7 explains the different transformations and interactions of the field of activity, FOA. So then this part onwards, what is the process of knowledge and revelation? 13.8 onwards, we will do in the next class. Thank you so much for being here. This is actually a tough concept. Without the power, I can't even turn on my video. It's like totally dark. It's weird here. So thank you so much for joining me, Tapas Prabhu. I haven't seen you regularly, but good to see you today. Virendra Prabhu,
Hare
Jagma
Krishna,
Mataji, Roma Mataji, Ravi Prabhu.
Hare
And
Krishna Mataji.
thank you. Thank you. I've just taken 5 more minutes and the power is still not here. Okay, so thank you for joining me. See you all tomorrow. We'll do more. We'll try and get a good understanding of knowledge from 13.8 onwards. They're very beautiful verses related to all the qualities which make up knowledge. Any reflections? Okay, I'm ending the class. Vansha kalpa karu the Vansha pivataru bishop Kripa sindhu evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you very much.
Roma Mataji,
Hare
you better today? Are you better today?
Yeah, very much better. I'm all
Great.
good now.
Yeah, last week you were suffering today. Great to see
Thank you Mataji, thank you very much.
Hare
Yes,
Krishna. I'm
I'm
ending.
fine now.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.